Hi, I'm Sophia and I draw animals, and today I'm going to walk you through how I turn my traditional artwork into like tangible physical art prints that I can sell on my shop. I am going to take you through what I used to do before I had a printer and before I had like any money. And I'm also going to walk you through what I do now that I have like an almost full-time job to sustain any dips in my art selling, and also to help invest in certain things that I have been wanting from my artwork and my art shop. I'm also going to walk through some of the pros and cons of both of those, because there always is pros and cons to both sides, and also what changes kind of made, like what changes I think impacted the amount of artwork that I was selling and am selling and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've literally got like 2 pages full of notes to talk to you about, so hopefully I don't speed through this and I can give you enough in-depth information on my experience and how that is going. So yeah, if you guys like this video, consider checking out some of my other content. I draw a lot and I draw animals. That's kind of like my whole shtick. So if you like that kind of stuff, I'm here. I yap. Yay. We're gonna move on now though, because we have a lot to talk about, and this is all like experience-based learning. Like, I was not necessarily taught these things. I did do a lot of research when like making larger purchases and stuff, but it's just never the same as actually experiencing it. And on top of that, this is an organically built business. There is not some rich person backing me as an artist, although I kind of wish there was, because your girl could get so much done if she just didn't have to work another job. So it's all of our dreams. It's okay. We're gonna continue now. So starting off, what I used to do was actually print my art prints at FedEx. If I'm correct, their highest weight of paper, because I'm particular about the paper texture and the feel. The highest quality I could afford at the time, which is why I was keeping my cost so low, was 120-pound cardstock. And like, I know it's just cardstock. It was smooth cardstock, but it still wasn't what I wanted it to be, but that was what I could afford at the time. So I would go on Canva and I would format to scale 4x6 prints or 5x7 prints, but mostly 4x6 prints on an 8.5 by 11 page of cardstock. So essentially just a regular document size, like plain paper size. But I would format on there, and then I would hand cut with like a paper cutter and then cleaning up any pieces with scissors. So the only issue with that is that it left a lot of room for error, because I do not have the steadiest hands. They're not shaky, but it's not great. Like, it definitely left room for error, and that I did not like, because I'm very much perfectionisty and I like when things look very clean, and when they don't, I don't feel right selling them. So it left a lot of kind of like B-grade prints, and because that paper, yes, it was 120 pounds, but it was not thick enough to support a giant amount of ink. When I tried to land a cut print on the back of them to make them into postcards, like baby postcards, you can kind of see the color a little bit because it's just not thick enough paper. And on top of that, I had to kind of buy in bulk, and if a print doesn't sell, you just have to hold on to the dead stock. Like, there's nothing you could do with it. It just sits and takes up space. And I did not have this studio at the time. This was, I think, 3 years ago now, when I was first starting this business, and there was nowhere to put it. I just had to kind of hold on to everything in my drawers. It was taking up a lot of room, and prints that didn't sell made me kind of sad because I could see them all the time, and it was just a little bit discouraging. On top of that, at the time, I was not fully confident in my work or even like my commitment to being an artist. Like, I wanted to. I was dealing with a lot of mental struggles around like that idea as well, just because of the whole like get a real job thing. But also, I was just not mentally doing well. I was going through a lot of very like significant and severe life changes and stuff, and so I wasn't really in the headspace for throwing myself into something. And then when I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just take the leap, I was forcing my art style into something that it really wasn't naturally. I was making it more simplistic. I was only drawing digitally, and it was more cartoonistic. I draw animals a little bit stylized. I love to play with color, but for the most part, I'm drawing semi-realism, and I am looking at the animal and drawing the animal as is, and not necessarily stylizing it to the extent that I was stylizing the pieces that I had before. And I think that that was just making me very, very shaky in my artistic identity, because it didn't feel like me, and I was putting them out and I was trying to pump out these pieces that I wasn't fully sold on. There was a few I was really fond of, but for the most part, I was not fully confident in my work, And to be quite frank, I think my art is much better now. I think that before it was cute, but there wasn't a sense of like, it had no ground to stand on. Like I felt like it was very it just lacked confidence, and it lacked a sense of self. And I feel like it was a little bit lackluster. I feel like a lot of my colors are very flat, and the movement in them is not as organic as the art pieces that I have now. It feels very stiff, because it was. After that tangent, printing with FedEx meant that I only had a limited amount of paper thickness I could go to, so 120 pounds as far as I can go. I had to cut them myself. And on top of that, if their printers were out of ink, there was nothing I could do. Like, I had to go and pick through all the pages I was printing and be like, hey, this one, it looks kind of fugly. And when those printers start to run low on ink, they start streaking the images, and there's lines. And there's nothing worse than having lines on your very pigmented artwork, because it is very noticeable. And we know me. I love a colorful background. Almost all of my prints are not against a white background. I like a bold background, and it was just not working. Like, some of them would come out really nicely, and some would come out very streaky, to the point where I'm like, well, I don't even feel comfortable selling this, because I don't think it's not to my standard. Or my standards a little too high? Maybe, but if people are going to spend their hard-earned money on my artwork, I want it to be just right. I literally almost forgot, but at some point I started doing some 5x7 digital designs for my little mail club that I started I started way too soon. I should not have done a mail club that soon. It was very overwhelming. I feel like I did not build enough foundation to start doing that thing. I was jumping in head first into some things that I definitely should have felt more confident in, and I didn't let myself, because I wasn't giving myself the time to breathe or learn or adjust. That's just a fault on my part. But I was printing through Mooprint, expensive, loved it. I was pouring way more money into it than I was getting out, and I think maybe now that could be a thing I can try, because I've got a more established presence online, and also a more established like eye for my art and art style, question mark. It could probably work now. It was not working at the time. Another thing that I think was also a contributing issue to when I was printing before is that I also was not posting consistently like at all. Like, I already am kind of bad about posting to Instagram. I'm getting better about YouTube and TikTok. I feel like those are my most consistent. The way that content is formatted for those two platforms is much more geared to my interests and my tastes. So I think it's easier for me to do that. And just because engagement on Instagram is just much less overall, it's harder to get people to comment and share and like buy from your Instagram. I was very discouraged by it. At the time, it was a lot when I was going through a high stress situation. I really didn't want to work at the job that I was working at. And I really was desperate to make this work, even though I wasn't giving myself the tools to make it work. It just wasn't going to happen at the time. Overarching theme for the before of how I used to print my prints is that there was just way more labor involved. It was just too much labor involved. And then also there was way too much room for error on my end, but also on FedEx's end, because what are they going to do? Hey, you're printing with us and you want to print this full sheet of color and it's streaky? Sorry, that's our printer. So like, what are they going to do? Moving on. Now we can get into the now, where I print everything at home in this lovely little Epson printer right behind me. Love this printer. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. It was a very stressful decision. I had just started working the job that I'm currently at right now, and I was like, okay, like, I gotta do this now or never. I was very stressed about it, a little impulsive about it, to be honest, because at the time I was still pretty inconsistent with my posting, with my drawing in general, but it was the first time I had finished sketchbooks in a while, and I was feeling very pumped and very inspired and very on a mission. And I was like, I feel like if I got this printer, like, I'll pump out pieces, because I won't have to go through a bajillion hoops and spend money on these prints. And then, like, if nobody buys them, then they just sit there and then it's wasted money. You know what I mean? Like, so the Epson printer that I got is the Epson 8550, if I'm correct. It is a pretty large printer. I think it's like 20 something inches across or whatever. It has multiple paper feeders. There's a rear feeder, a photo feeder, and then like a large paper tray underneath. I prefer the rear feeder. It like pops up. It pops up like that, and I find that the paper doesn't get jammed when you feed it through that feeder, even if it's like thinner paper like printer paper. I've only had issues with jamming from printer paper, but it's also possibly because they are subject to the elements back here because there's not like AC or anything. So sometimes if it gets a little humid, that paper will get a little soft and will get jammed, but not with a rear feeder, so crisis averted. On top of that, my colors come out incredibly vibrant. I use a whole lot of color and a whole lot of texture in my drawings, and I haven't had issue with any little spots or anything, and I've had a really great experience with adjusting colors for the printer. I don't mind that it's not automatically true to color. I probably will eventually calibrate it so that it's more true to color and I won't have to up saturation. I don't have to do very much though. I feel like it's not that big of a compromise to have to slightly adjust your photo to get it to look the way that it looks on a screen, because all screens will show up differently. We'll have the color show up differently. And on top of that, I feel like the print quality is just so much better. I don't have any streaks. Because ink is like never running out, I don't have any of those issues that I was having before. On top of that, because I got this printer, I'm able to pump out way more pieces because I'm not afraid of putting a piece out there and then it not selling and me just having dead stock. I've said this like 3 times already. I'm sorry, but that was a main thing, like inhibiting my ability to just freely pump out pieces, because I knew that it would cost money before to go and print these, and if I get 10 of them back and I hate them all, like what am I gonna do? I can't return them. There's no returns. And now that's just not an issue anymore. I have literally not had to buy ink, and I've had this since, I will find out the month. I will show you the Amazon purchase date. There was also a big shift in my artistic confidence because I had been drawing way more at this point. I'd been drawing way more traditionally. I'd been posting way more. I'd started getting a little bit of a little following on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. That was all very exciting and encouraging. But on top of that, I had been consuming a lot more art content and just playing with my style and with colors and with mediums like I haven't ever done before. So that's also added in a lot of the joy and confidence and like childlike wonder that has been in my art recently. And I'd like to continue doing that because I've been thoroughly enjoying it as well. I've been drawing like a madman recently, even though I don't post nearly enough. But yeah, I've been doing that better, and that has also helped with grow my art. And I think just now, because my art is objectively better all around, not that it was bad before, but that it wasn't well-rounded before. And I'm sure there's much more room for improvement on my art now, but it's significantly better than it was before. I think because of that, I was able to get this, and now it's actually paying itself back. I think it's actually already paid itself back, which is pretty exciting. Yeah, and it just eliminated a lot of that fear around wasting money on pieces that weren't going to do well, or pieces that I wasn't actually entirely happy with, or even that I felt connected to at all. But now, with my printer, I can design whatever I want for my sketchbooks, from my digital art even if I want to, and print it, do a test print. If I don't like it, adjust it, another test print. So then it's like 2 or 3 papers wasted rather than 25 or 50 papers wasted. And on top of that, it doesn't take up much space because I can take my Etsy listing pictures and post it. And if no one orders it, there's no back stock to be stored. It is just a finalized piece ready to go in my files on my computer, ready to print if someone does like it. But I don't have to hold on to that, especially when this is like a smaller space. Like, we don't have the room to be carrying mass amounts of dead stock because I have a lot of prints and a lot of stickers now, and that just isn't feasible. Another thing is I draw almost exclusively traditionally now. I used to only do digital for a little while, when I don't think that that's the most natural for me. I think reconnecting with my traditional art, it's definitely catapulted my artist experience and improvement in a way that I didn't think it was going to. I've had a lot more fun. I've finished more sketchbooks in this last 2 years than I have maybe in my entire life. And like, that's kind of dumb, but like, that's improvement to me. That is growth to me. So I'll go through my sketchbooks and look at anything that I'm like, I like this even as a sketch. I'll take a picture of it, a high quality picture with even lighting. Sometimes I'll go into a shady spot where there's no sun, but there is a lot of light. And I'll take a picture. Sometimes I'll use my overhead little lamp I have right here. She's looking down at you. But whatever I need to do to get the most even lighting with as little glare as possible, as little color shifting as possible. We just want a good even shot of the piece. And I'll do that, and I will send them to my iPad. I usually take them on my phone, so I will airdrop them to my iPad or my laptop, and either in Canva or Procreate go and literally like pixel by pixel, erase any dust marks, erase any streaks, erase any paper creases, just to make sure everything looks as clean as possible while still looking like it is hand drawn. Like I don't want to over edit to the point of it looking not even like the drawing that I had before. Now specifically, I do 5x7s because 5x7s and 4x6s are the most common print sizes. I love me a square print, I love a mini print, but most people are looking for prints in that size range, and so it's just easier to get it like that. And there's also a lot of paper that is already sold in 4x6 and 5x7 sizes, so once again, less work for me to do. I don't have to cut the paper, I don't even have to like really format. I just have to make sure that's in the right size and save the piece in that size, and that it's basically prepped for the printer to go, as long as I have my settings correct. Usually Canva, because Procreate doesn't have that many color settings, Canva you can often do like a color edit. So if my darkest colors in the piece are not dark enough, like the contrast isn't high enough, but I don't want to compromise the quality of the picture, I will go through and like color edit if something's not blue enough. I love to up saturation, just because with this printer, there's a little bit of trial and error, but it does desaturate your photos a little bit. Like I find it's always best to up your saturation in hopes of getting like what is most true to your eye. That's my goal, is to get everything as true to color as possible. And it luckily hasn't been too much trial and error, it hasn't been too crazy. On top of that, I have control over the paper quality. So specifically, I like to use, I do have a test print over here. Specifically, I like to use a very textured paper. Can you even see that? Oh my God, you can kind of see it from here. I love watercolor paper. It has a really nice visual texture that I just favor. I think it adds a little extra organicness to the drawings. I feel like it makes them look more like their traditional pieces, even though they're prints, because obviously I have to clean them up digitally, and sometimes a flat, perfectly smooth paper just makes things look a little too polished. I like the homemade vibe that it provides. There's a lot more nitpicking I get to do, which can be stressful to some people, but for me, I want as much control over the process as much as possible. I want to know how everything's going to look and make sure that everything looks to my liking and that it's up to par with the standards I've set in my head. Can once again become a perfectionist issue thing, but for me, when it comes to this, if people are spending their hard-earned money, once again, I want it to be just right. I want it to be worth it. This paper is visibly thick. It does not flop very much. I feel like it holds better in a frame and on a wall if it is a slightly higher quality. I know I'm yapping your ear off, but I have a feeling if you came here with the like expectation of getting yapped at because you want to hear what I have to say. I hope. When it comes to this printer, don't skimp. If you're gonna do it, do your research and do it all the way. I got the HP photo printer, and it's a good printer for like regular papers and maybe even photos, but for high quantities of like color and ink that's necessary for art prints like these, like look at the amount of colors on that page alone. It's just not worth it to get that one. She's good for like printing patterns. My girlfriend sews, and it's also a cartridge printer, so you know how expensive cartridges can be, I'm assuming. If you don't, cartridges are really fucking expensive, and they also don't last very long. And so if you're using as much ink as I was using for all of my pieces, because I refuse to have a white background on all of my pieces, it was getting very expensive very quick, and then I was running into issues of wasting paper again because I would get streaks because the ink would be running out, or the colors wouldn't be as vibrant, or the colors would be like wrong because it was running out of a certain color but not all the colors. It was just a whole issue. With the Epson, I have refillable cartridges. There's big bottles that they give you to refill the ink, and even after you do the first fill all the way to the top line, there's still a little bit left over, so I just topped them off the other day, and I probably won't have to buy ink for another while to come. One last note before I close this out: don't just make art of your finished prints. I personally love a sketch print. There's also a creator on TikTok and YouTube, I think, called Efe, and she will like sell prints of her sketch pages of like portraits and stuff. People seem to be pretty cool with sketch ones. I like how sketches look sometimes more than finished pieces, so I started releasing stuff like my shoe bowl print, which I will put right here, and it is really fucking cool. It's already sold, and I've also put in that little blue heron sketch one. It doesn't have to be crazy amazing, it just has to be cute and to your liking, and if you like the sketch and you want to print it as a print, go ahead, there's no one stopping you. It does not have to be a fully finished rendered piece for it to be an art print. Sometimes the sketch is the look that people are going for. The same way that this piece is literally drawn in kids crayon. Like, this piece is my bestseller, I think, right now, next to my bear print and next to my anteater sticker. Those were all pieces I did not think were gonna be my bestsellers, and they are, and that's kind of insane. And yeah, there's enough room for every artist on this earth. So don't get nervous. That's talking to you, but also talking to me, because the little hamster running on the wheel in my brain gets very scared sometimes, and I don't want her to be scared. So yeah, if you liked this video and you stayed to the end, thank you very much. You are helping my watch times. You're helping a fellow artist. You're helping one cool dude. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I've been talking for so fucking long. Do me a freaking favor and drink some water. Take care of your mind. Take your meds. And I will see you in the next video. I don't know what we're doing yet. I usually say where we draw some animals, but actually, no, I think we're gonna draw some animals. Bye.